to welcome you back to Messy Church.
So, you have to act out whatever kind of bean it's going to be. So, I'm going to start off, so you can stand up if you like. Now you've got, sorry. So, can you be a runner bean on the spot? Oh, that's great. Some good running. Can you be a broad bean? Very good. Can you be a jumping bean? Oh, that's good. Oh yes, this is a good one. This is Becky's game, so it's really good. Can you be a chili bean? Does anyone have any beans they'd like to be? What bean? Go. A baked bean. Can you show us how to do it? Oh, baked bean on the ground. That's great. Oh, I like that baked bean. I can see you all down here. What other beans can you be? At the back, right at the back. Chili bean. Oh yeah, we've been to chili bean. Let's do it again. Yeah, that's good. Oh, you can do it hop. That's good. Oh, all right. I'm going to do one. Tell me what kind of bean it is.
Jelly bean.
Oh, be a jelly bean. Woo! Baked bean. Oh.
We're just going to carry on thinking about harvest today, and actually there are lots of clues in the word harvest to tell us what harvest is all about, because when you look at the front of church and you can see all those beautiful things, you might think that harvest is a lot about the things that you have for your tea. Can you see all the letters for the word tea are in harvest? So it might be that harvest is telling us all about the things we have for tea, and that's pretty good, isn't it? It might be that harvest is a little bit about the time of year when hopefully now our farmers have a little bit of a rest, although I don't think farmers ever really rest. And maybe the fields start to have a little bit of a rest too. So it might be a bit like that. It might be a bit about getting all the fresh food out of church as quickly as you can so that you don't get any rats. That's there in harvest too. That's a pretty important one. And it might be about coming into church and before he takes his face mask off, wondering if Reverend Bob has managed to have a shave. Looking pretty good. It might be pretty good. But it might also be about this. It might be that harvest is about giving thanks for the things we have. The word have is in there. And it might be particularly about giving thanks for the things we have to eat. And it might be a bit about the time when we think about the fact that around the world not everybody has everything they need to eat, and so they might be at a point where they might starve. And it's especially about remembering at this time of year that we have things and others don't, and so we definitely have to share. And all of those words are there in the word harvest. So those are the things we're going to think about a bit this afternoon when we hear our story. What we have to eat, how some people might be starving, and how we're going to ask God to help us to share. So that's what we're going to think about later when we have our story, and that's what we're going to think about when we do our crafts. And I think it is time for doing the first craft. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes!
So for this craft, I've done a lot of it for you already. In your bags you will find that you've got paper plates, but your paper plates are already fastened together so that you don't have to worry about it, because it's quite tricky to push through the hole. But what we need to do is, on our plate, we have got some sections all marked out, which I've already done it for you, and on your plate you need to write things that you are thankful for. So let's have some ideas. What can we be thankful for? Food. So be thankful for food. Yes.
For my doggy.
For your doggy. So, doggy.
For being kind.
You're being kind. I'm going to say that I'm thankful for all your lovely teachers, because I think they do a fantastic job. Okay, so all the teachers. And then what we do is we put on, we need to make, on your plates, yours is already cut out, because it's quite tricky cutting out, and these scissors have to be really sharp. So just quickly, because some of these are going to go home with some children from playgroup. And their packs aren't done, so their mummies will need to know, or their daddies will need to know how to do it. And then we get our paper fastener, and that's my phone going off. But we've all ignored it. I did have that going through. Then, on the front here, we are going to draw our faces. So I'm going to quickly do my face. Green eyes.
Don't forget a smile.
Don't forget my smile. Never forget my smile, because I've always got a smile. There we are.
If you didn't have a smile.
And then it's I'm thankful.
Put it through the nose. Can you show us it?
I will do. Ready? And then I'm thankful for, and then you can move your plate around.
Ooh.
And it's all our ideas of what we are thankful for. Okay? There we are. You can go and create now. You'll find these in your bags.
First, actually, we're going to make an apple. And an apple's a really important part of the Bible. There's this very special story about apples in the Bible and they kind of symbolize God's goodness, but also Adam and Eve. Do you remember the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible? And they take an apple and they find out what it is to do things wrong. So, what we're going to do, you find your little apple cores and you take your Pritt stick. It's very easy, this one, he says. Sarah's watching me for quality control. And you basically, we Pritt stick along the edge. Sarah's going to correct me if I've done this wrong. With a different colour. And you glue it on there. And we take another colour. And you just keep going along and make a new edge. It's quite satisfying to make. It's quite nice. And we're making an apple. This will all make sense in a second. And I'm going to take another red one. And again along the edge. Then we stick them together to make like that. So we put some glue, not right into the edge because we're going to need a little gap. This is the easy craft. Right, here we go. And stick them together and it makes a beautiful apple. It should make a beautiful apple. There we go. Like that. Wow. Which is lovely. You see? And what we can do, if we left a little gap, is put our pipe cleaner in the middle. Now I think I did it too neat and didn't leave a lot of space, but yeah, I've made a little space. There you go. That's starting to look even more like an apple now, isn't it? And we should have little leaves somewhere. Oh, still in the bag. Oh yes. So have you seen the little leaves? They're really pretty. And we just glue those on. to our pipe cleaner. And I think that's lovely. I would love to receive something so beautiful as that. And it's a reminder of creation. Because everything was created good in the story of Adam and Eve. Even though things went wrong, it was all created good, and everything's created good for us. So there you go, that's the apple. So would you like to have a go at making that? Yeah? Yeah? Go then! Great stuff. So the next thing we've got is, it's our pear, it's the fruit of the Spirit. So what you're going to do is cut this out, which is your printed sheet. And it's got some lovely words on we're going to speak at the moment. And you should have a little pear as well to print out, to cut out. And we're... I know, mean words. And we cut that out nicely. You can spend more time on it than me. I'm a bit like... I'm not as neat as the Archbishop is over here. He's really neat with his cutout. And then you've got like... your pear shape. I'm colouring the words, so we've got lots of pens and things, so you colour in the words, and there's some lovely words. I'm going to read out some of these words. So the fruit of the Spirit is, so the fruit of the Spirit, that means kind of what's deep inside us, how we feel, that comes out, is love and joy. So God can give us joy and peace. And I'm going to let you colour this. And patience. Kindness. Does anyone know what kindness is? Yeah, go on. That can be kindness, can't it? Goodness, that's a big one, but just trying to be good. Faithfulness is kind of like loyal, isn't it? And gentleness, like the Archbishop, is very, very gentle. And self-control. And that means just thinking about things before you do them, so that you're in control of what you're saying and thinking. So, these are all fruits of the Spirit. So these are all good things. Gluing it together. Sticking it down. Just like that. And there, we've got a lovely pear.
Oh, yummy, yummy. Which is not green.
So...
Well, the other side is green. Yeah, the other side.
So this is a little reminder of all the things we can work at to be kind and careful, to be, thank you, and to be kind to other people and caring for other people. All the fruits of the Spirit. So do you think you can make that? And colour? Can you colour it in better than me? Yeah! Great, go for it. Brilliant. Excellent.
We are going to make, what's this? It is corn. And the farmers are busy at the moment collecting all of this in. It's going to be nice and ripe for us all to eat. But what we need to do, in our bags, you will find that we have what are these?
Green bits.
2 green bits, and they're going to be the leaves.
The leaves.
And we need to...
be part of the corn.
They are going to be a big part of the corn, because they're going to be the blankety bed for the corn. We are, with our sellotape, we're going to put a little bit of sellotape in the back. And then this is the best bit. Lots and lots and lots of glue. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of glue. And then what we're going to do, inside your bags, you have a special cone. And inside your cone is this corn. And that's why it's done in church. So then Sarah can hoover up after you all. And you can just cut the end off and sprinkle. Like this. Does it matter? No, because it's a mess. Oh, what does that sound like? Sounds like we're watering it. And then we give it a big press. Nice and sticky. And then we take our corn and we need to wrap him in a blankety bed. Okay. Sweet corn's sleeping in his blankety bed. Okay. And the bit of sellotape so the corn doesn't fall out. Okay. There we are. And that's our activity. Okay.
We're going to make this happy little scarecrow friend, because these little scarecrows, they're the helpers for the farmers, aren't they? They help to make sure that the birds, that's it, they make sure the birds don't eat all the things that they've been growing. So we're going to make some happy helper scarecrows. And when we hear the story in a little while, we're going to think about how we might help as well, and also about how God helps us. So we're going to make some scarecrows like this. Now, in your bags, so teachers, this is another thing that you're going to find in your bags. You're going to find some very important things that you're going to need. So we've got happy scarecrow head, nice big chunky scarecrow body. We've got some little scarecrow arms, and some very straw-like scarecrow legs. And what we're going to do is decorate these. You've also got some little googly eyes to put on top of his eyes. And what we want, well, you can see what the game is here, guys. We've just got to decorate our scarecrows beautifully. So you might like to use a little bit of this wool stuff, yeah? And I think I might put a little bit of glue on the scarecrow's feet for that. Can you see there's straw on the scarecrow's feet? So I'm going to put some glue on there. You can just rip this off, but you can cut it using the scissors if you need to. So I'm going to put that in there so it looks like the straw. You can use your colouring pens and pencils to colour in little bits of the scarecrow. And I'm going to put that on first, because then that's going to take some time to dry, little straw-like legs. Then you've got pots with little bits of fabric and tissue paper. And here's the best thing to do on your tables. Yeah, you ready? Complicated, are you ready? Just tip it out. Tip it out. Tip it out on your table. Tip out some wool. Tip out some buttons. We come from the same school of thought on this one over here. And you can use whatever you need then to decorate. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on his little patch pockets. So he's got some little pockets. So I'm going to put some glue on there. I'm going to put some glue where his... Do you think... Is it like from the Scarecrow's Wedding? Can I just say one of my favourite books? So I'm going to put some glue where his buttons are, because I think he probably needs some proper buttons on there. I'm going to put glue on all of his patches. You can decorate his nose, you can decorate his hat, you can go wherever you like with this. So I'm going to stick some buttons on down his middle, so his buttons are real buttons. I'm going to use, there's some little bits of fabric, there's some little bits of tissue paper, things like that you've got. So I'm going to use a little bit that I fancy on these patches, different colours in different places. You might put a bit of wool on, because maybe he's wearing an old woolly jumper that somebody's found. So you might put some of that on some of his patches. What else can I use? What else? Maybe some of this jazzy green tissue paper, that would make a really good patch. You might like to use your colouring pens and pencils to do some of your scarecrow's face, so we can have some nice little rosy cheeks. Yeah. Because sometimes he probably gets a bit warm stood out in the sun. Maybe, I don't know. One of his arms has come with me. You might like to use your colouring pencils and crayons and pens to do his hat. I think this scarecrow's hat needs jazzing up a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue onto his hat as well. I'm going to show it up for you, show you exactly what I've done in just a moment, because I think you need to see what I've done so that you know how to do it better. Yeah? Good plan. So I'm going to stick some wool onto this scarecrow's hat as well. Now look. Oh, do you know, I can't resist. I've got to put the googly eyes on. I love a googly eye. So I'm going to put the googly eyes on his eyes. You can decorate yours exactly as you like. And then you've got all these different separate bits of scarecrow. So here we go. Happy looking head. I've got my body with the real buttons and the patches. These are my favourite bit, I think. This one might be easier to lift up, because here we've got little straw-like feet and little patches. Now, you've got two options to fix it together. Can you see that this one moves a little bit because we've used split pins? And you might need a teacher to help you with this, or you might like to take the bits of your scarecrow home and use these tiny little split pins that are in a jar like this to put the different pieces of your scarecrow together. And wherever you need a split pin, you'll see that you line up one circle on top of the other. So you might like to do that, but if you want your scarecrow in one piece, and the teachers are a little bit busy, because teachers can be a bit busy when there's so many to look after, you might like to use a little bit of sellotape or glue to stick your arms and legs and head and onto the body instead. So you can choose and maybe have a little conversation with the people around you and your teachers about what's best. So are you going to make us some great scarecrow friends?
Yeah.
Great, go for it. In your paper bags, you have got a little plastic bag like this. You've got a sheepy head. You've got some sheepy legs. And maybe some more googly eyes, although I do appreciate some extra googly eyes might have been applied to scarecrows, but that's okay, your sheep have got eyes. This is a very easy one. The first thing that you're going to need to do is put a little bit of glue onto your sheep's woolly hair, okay? Because then we're going to add onto your sheep's woolly hair some more of this wool. Oh, so you've got a proper woolly sheep, and we're going to stick that on. Oh, look at that. What a lovely woolly sheep. And when you're picking your sheep up to just squidge that wool on a bit more, you'll notice that there are two little strips of sticky back tape. So, well, somebody on your table might be able to, there we go. We can take the strips off the back of the double-sided sticky tape, and I'm going to stick my sheep head onto the front of my bag. You can tell where the front is because it's slightly higher. The flap is slightly higher. So where the flap is there, we're just going to stick the sheepy head onto the bag. And now that my sheep's head is on there, I'm going to just put my googly eyes on top of this little sheepy's eyes. And then I'm going to put a splodge of glue on both of the sheep's legs. And then my little sheep is complete, you see. And when you've finished doing that, you can come back and start listening to a story. And while we're doing that, your teachers, I hope, are going to come round and fill your bag with some popcorn, which is in some big bowls at the back, and there's a little spade where you can spoon it in. And then we can so delicious. You can fill your little sheep with popcorn, and that could be something for you, or it could be a gift for a friend, couldn't it? And it's this tiny amount of food, and we're going to hear a story in a moment about how a tiny amount of food made a huge difference because of the generosity of the person who offered it and the goodness of God. So, do you want to go and get your sheepy so they're looking like this, and then come back to me while the teachers fill with the popcorn? Do you remember some of the words that we looked at that could come out of the word harvest at the beginning? Do you remember my 4 really important words?
Yeah.
We had, can you remember them? Share was a really good one. Share. That was a special one. Can you remember one of the others? Kind. That didn't come out of harvest, but that was a really important word earlier when we did the pairs. Can you remember them? We've had share, we had starve, we had eat, and we had have, didn't we? So I'd love it if you can watch out for places in this story where we hear about what people have, what people might like to eat, in case people might starve, and all about sharing too. So if we have, we've got hands out like this. So if you hear me talking about what somebody has, what they have, can you put your hands out like this? And when we're talking about people wanting something to eat, we'll do a little action like this. And then when we think about starve, we go, oh, holding my tummy because I'm starving. And then we've got share like this. Okay. So we've got have, eat, starve, and share. All right, so this is a story about Jesus feeding thousands of people. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and it starts off with Jesus really wanting a little bit of quiet time. He wants a bit of time by himself, and he goes off on a boat with his friends and his followers, and he comes to the edge of the lake where they've been sailing, and he steps off the boat, and goodness me, he's not getting any downtime because there are thousands of people there wanting to listen to what Jesus has to say to them. So he says, all right, guys, okay, fair enough, you want to hear more. So sit yourselves down and I'm going to keep on speaking to you, telling you wonderful things about God. But as they sit there, they realise that the day is going on and on and on. And people are getting to the point where they might like something to eat. In fact, they've been there so long listening to Jesus that their tummies are empty and they're starting to go, oh, I'm going to starve. I'm so hungry. So Jesus comes to one of his friends, Philip, and he says, what do we have? What do we have to feed all these people who want something to eat, whose tummies are so empty they might starve. And Philip says, I've no idea. I don't have enough to give to these people. Even if I had a year's worth of money, I wouldn't have enough to give all these thousands of people enough to eat. What are we going to do? Well, one little boy, he was ready to share. He came to Jesus and to Jesus' friends and followers, and he says, I brought something to eat. It's not very much, but here's everything I have. And he had a few little fish and a few little bread rolls. And Jesus said, because you're ready to share, nobody needs to starve. So what Jesus did is he took these little fish and these little bread buns, and he said, thank you, God, that this little boy was ready to give us what he has. And Jesus broke the bread after he'd said thank you to God. And he said to his friends, start giving it out. And so they did. And suddenly, as they began to share, this little portion became enough for thousands of people. These tiny fish and tiny rolls became enough for thousands of people. And it gets better, because after thousands of people had filled their tummies, there was still so much left over that they could collect baskets back in. Here's what the story's all about. We might not think we have a lot, but actually we have enough to share. We are fortunate because we have lots to eat. And that little boy had his packed lunch, didn't he? And even though it might not seem much, if we're ready to share, nobody needs to starve, because God can make miracles happen when we're ready to share what we have. So we have to be thankful for everything that we have. We have to be grateful for all the food that we eat. We have to remember that there are some people in this world and in our country who starve. And number 4, we have to be ready to share. And Jesus wants to work with us, asking us to help to feed those people who don't have enough. What an amazing story! Thousands and thousands of people fed by one boy's little packed lunch. Shall we just say a little prayer before you take your aprons off and get your coats on and head home to school with all your wonderful crafts? Shall we say a prayer? Okay, we're going to close our eyes for this prayer. Sometimes we do open eyes praying, don't we? We're going to do a closed eyes prayer with our hands together, because our hands have been busy all afternoon, haven't they? And I want you to imagine in your mind those 4 words: have, eat, starve and share. So let's say this prayer. We'll say amen together at the end to make it our own prayer. Okay. Thank you, God, for Messy Church. Thank you, God, that we have been able to meet together and do fun things. Thank you, God, for everything we have. Thank you that most of us here know exactly when we will next be able to eat. Remind us that in this country and around the world, there are people who sadly starve. And at this harvest time, would you teach us how to share so that nobody needs to go hungry? And let's say the special word at the end of a prayer together. Amen.